be oppressed. There's still that hierarchy. That's what she's been saying the whole time. There's still a hierarchy.
Literally, he's just
What is the
continuing
okay?
to operate under
Can you explain to me what the hierarchy is? Because maybe I'm just not understanding
white
that.
people, everyone else, black people.
What does that mean though? Like
the darker your skin.
No, but I just mean, are you talking about like there's laws that are making this the case? Are you saying it's individual action collectively that's making it the case? Which is it?
Hierarchy, meaning systemically, white people are at the top. Thank you.
And Rhodea is back to debate some random TikToker about if white people can experience racism. Now, this starts off talking about racism against white people, but then it veers off into other topics of discussion, as you'll see. Can Hayden Rhodea convince these TikTokers of his position? Well, let's watch and find out.
Whatever.
We don't advocate for bullying of white people.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? A follow-up question there. I know that you said that there's no such thing as a good cop. In that comparison, there, then would you also say there's no such thing as a good white person? Was that the comparison that was being made there?
I would not use the word good. I would say there's no such thing as a non-racist white person.
Really? Okay. So
just wait. And to add to that, also, all black people have anti-blackness within us because we were all raised in an anti-black, anti-people of color society, and so we all have internalized that in some way and need to all unpack these things, all of us.
And
I like how when blacks are racist toward other blacks, it's still white people's fault somehow. Whose fault is it if whites are racist toward other whites, though? Is that still the internalized white supremacist racism that is encouraging whites to be racist against other whites?
Totally. I have white parents as well who love me very deeply who still exhibit racism.
Okay, is it possible for someone to be white and not have any prejudice against black people, have no racism within them?
Not if they were raised, unless they were raised in like the woods, alone, away from any sort of social interactions and understanding of like how humans have socialized. No, but all humans are socialized to have some sort of prejudice over somebody, unfortunately, because that's a society we live in. We live in a bigoted society. So if they were raised outside of society in like a perfect little bubble, sure.
Isn't it possible that they also could have just been raised in a society that has a disdain for racism as a whole, and thus they don't have prejudice against certain groups on the basis of race?
Which society is that? I would love to move there.
That's not our society, though. It's not the society.
Which society is that? Tell me so I can.
Especially if you're an American, it's not the society you live in.
Well, I'm just curious. Wouldn't you say that, for example, if there was like a young white child who grew up in the church, was taught from the very moment that he attended church that racism was a wicked and a heinous sin that will be judged by God along with all other sins on Judgment Day? Wouldn't you say that
tell you to not hate black people, then you're probably just not a like that doesn't make me feel better that the only reason you're nice to me is so that your God doesn't punish you. I don't have any sort of respect for people who only do good things out of fear of punishment. I think that you're not actually a good person if that's the only reason you do good things.
But religion and
these people find any excuse to be like, no racism. Like, okay, if God teaches you not to be racist, well, it's still bad if you have to be taught not to be racist. Yeah, and by the way, that whole scenario, like if someone lived in the woods by themselves and was away from our society, if they were my theory would be if they were returned to our society, I think they would actually be more likely to be racist, because if they start seeing particular behaviors in certain groups of people, there would have been no one to teach them, hey, you can't think of people like that. Because the way our culture was, at least up until maybe 10 years ago, was that you shouldn't judge based on skin color. You should try to ignore skin color, be colorblind. Well, if you live in the woods, you have no one to teach you that, right? So if you live in the woods and you're reintroduced back in society, you're probably more likely to be racist than if you grew up in society.
Religion, especially Christianity, has been used to perpetuate racism and to enslave people. So, like, perfect example, you could be brought up in the church and be told to love thy neighbor, but still come out with all these bigoted ideals. Like, Mormons literally think black people will become white after they die.
Yeah, I'm not a Mormon. Just to clarify,
I also brought up Christianity.
Yeah. So I'm a Protestant, so I can gladly say that racism is obviously a sin in the Bible.
No one asked you what your denomination was.
Oh, okay. But yeah.
No one asked you what your denomination was. Well, it's important. It's important. You can't have a discussion with a Christian about their beliefs and then bring up Mormonism. It's not the same thing.
racism is very obviously a sin in the Bible, and I would say that people who are actually trying to use the Bible to justify
is a sin in the Bible.
Can I just finish what I was saying there? What I was going to say there is that if someone is actually trying to use the Bible to say that racism is okay and that it's not sinful, then that would actually be an abuse of the Bible, not a proper use of the Bible. What I'm talking about when I'm saying that you could have a child who, for example, from birth is raised in a Christian household, that socializes him to believe that racism is a wicked sin. From the moment that he's brought into the world, the family consistently upholds that as a value, that racism is always wrong. Couldn't you then have a white child who doesn't actually exhibit racism and who isn't racist?
Because they're still shown the same movies that have anti-blackness, the same rhetoric in schools that are anti-black, the same stuff in, when they go to, I don't know, whatever.
The same coverage of like black people in the media, like. Whenever a young white person pews a school, he's a troubled soul. When a black child has Skittles in his pocket, he's a thug. Like, you still grow up in being conditioned in this world to be meant to be.
Well, let me try maybe using sort of this line of reasoning to maybe see if I can.
No, but why do you want this to apply to white people so badly, though?
What do you mean?
Like, why do you want white people to experience racism?
Well, this
like,
is
why are you fighting hard for that?
Well, that's the prompt. The prompt is request if you disagree. Only BIPOC can experience racism.
Right, so why do you disagree? Why do you want that to be the thing, though? That's my question for you.
Well, my ideal is that no one would experience racism, but what I'm trying to point out is that it's possible.
So you're saying, though, that if people are going to experience racism, it needs to be equal.
No, my goal would be that no one experiences racism, but I'm just trying to point out that if someone says that only a certain class of people can experience, what was that?
If that's your goal, how did you vote?
Well, I don't want to change. I don't want to change the subject to distract from what we're doing.
It's part of the conversation.
Okay, can I make the point that I've kind of been trying to make sort of for the last 60 seconds, and then maybe we can move to voting after that?
Then you can make your point. Answer the question. Then
okay. Okay. I voted for Donald Trump. Now can I make the point that I was going to try to make? Okay. So if we were to say, for example, would you agree with me that it would be racist for a white person to have the belief that black people are inferior and thus deny them employment on that basis? Would you agree with me that that's an example of racism?
Yeah, I'm sorry. This woman is freaking distracting. Nene Leaks over here. She's treating the camera like if it's a freaking mirror. It's like it's a vanity mirror. It's not your vanity, woman. Stop checking yourself out and fixing your fucking makeup in the fucking camera. It's annoying as hell and it's distracting. Can I just cover this part of the screen?
Yes, because that upholds the racial hierarchy, which is what my whole definition of racism was. Anything that upholds the structural hierarchy of race.
Okay, so would it also be racism if in a given society, the society had laws and was structured in a way that benefited black people historically above white people, and then a black person was to say that he believes white people are inferior and thus denied the person the job on that basis? Wouldn't that be an example of a white person experiencing racism by your standard?
Yes, if everything was flipped, if the racial hierarchy was created by black people and all of human history was reversed, yes, but it didn't happen that way, and that's why you can't.
But this is such nonsense, because you need to go and create like a fictional universe to try to justify racism against white people. Yeah, if Wakanda was real, we probably could sit back and be like, can white people experience racism in Wakanda? But Wakanda's not real.
But just to clarify, you would actually disagree with your claim then. You would say it's not true that only BIPOC can experience racism based on what you just said.
Based in the society and reality we live in, yes, in this timeline. I'm not debating alternate universes. No.
But in the universe you created, black people would be at the top holding up that racial hierarchy. So if black people are at top of that racial hierarchy, then they could be racist to those who they're trying to oppress. That's our reality, though.
But even
it's a hypothetical for you. It's a reality for us.
And they think it's a gotcha question, but that's like saying, what if Hogwarts was real? It's not a gotcha question. It's just not real.
Well, just a question here. I mean, even if I was to hold to your view, which I'm not saying that I do, but if I was to hold to your view that, and I believe this is what you believe, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that America is inherently a racist country. It's still racist even after, all the years since segregation was abolished and all that. If I was to hold to that view, couldn't you still also say that white people could experience racism even within that society, just if there were black people that held prejudices against them and discriminated against them on the basis of their race?
No, because they wouldn't be oppressed. There's still that hierarchy. That's what she's been saying the whole time. There's still a hierarchy.
He's just continuing to operate under.
Can you explain to me what the hierarchy is? Because maybe I'm just not understanding that.
People, everyone else Black people.
What does that mean though? Like
the darker your skin.
No,
the
but
further down
I just mean, are you talking about like there's laws that are making this the case? Are you saying it's individual action collectively that's making it the case? Which is it?
Hierarchy, meaning systemically, YT people are at the top. Thank you, Future, for the $5. What's the name of it?
Just to clarify, though, I'm going to kind of ask the same question again because I don't think I got an answer. Are we saying it's laws or it's the collection of individual action?
She did answer that. She said systemically. Do you know the difference? Do you know what that means?
I'm just trying to. That's what I'm trying to clarify. That's what I'm trying to get at.
But systemically answers that question, though.
Okay, what does systemically mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Systematic? Are you confusing systemic for systematic?
That's maybe I am. That's what I'm trying to clarify here.
What's your understanding of the two words? Can you tell me before I go into it?
Systematic and systematically?
Systematic and systemic.
Systemic. I'd say systemic is something that's probably the result of a system. Systematic, I guess, not totally sure if I can give it an exact definition, but feel free to explain it to me.
You're close. So systematic would be what you're looking for, like the laws or procedures or rules in place, right? Systemically, it would be how we implement them, and that can be done down to the social level as well. So she's talking about systemically.
Okay, so just let me know if I got this right. Would you say?
So clearly, if they're talking about systemically, then obviously that means there's no, it doesn't mean anything, because systemically could mean anything. Oh, this white person looked at me in a slightly different way. Oh, or I was at the restaurant and they took a little bit longer to serve me than they did the white people or the other people. Like, it's all subjective then. And so obviously she's going to mean systemic, because then that could mean anything.
Systemically would be like the collection of individual action within a society.
No.
No? Okay. What am I missing? How's it not?
I don't know. I guess, can you give me an example of what you mean?
Yeah, so when you guys say like systemically, what I'm thinking of there would be like there's a collection of individuals and who are taking actions that harm people who are Black and people of color.
You're still thinking systematically then. That would, if there's a group of people getting together who's trying to do things that are going to harm Black people, people of color, you're still looking at like the rules and like laws and the actions things they're doing. Systemically, it can be down to the way Black people are treated at the hospital. It was taught in medical schools that Black people experience pain at different rates than white people, which is why Black women are less likely to receive prescription drugs. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to be unalive during childbirth. These are systemic things that are being implemented within our culture still. But there's nothing systematically being systematic about it. There's no law saying Black women deserve to have worse childcare. Like,
but you'd agree with me that.
But systemically, they're dying more during childbirth. Also, systemically, Black female doctors have better patient mortality rates.
Just one question there. Do you think that all disparities in outcomes are a result of racism?
No, but when you take into account in these studies that we're mentioning, the methodology includes and takes into account things like their socioeconomic status, their health, their like current health issues, right? Takes all those things into account that might elevate their risk for certain things. But even when we talk about like certain health issues in general and diagnoses, Black people have like worse health because of redlining from long-term effects of redlining. So like, yeah, basically everything is we can connect to racism on a systemic level.
Okay, I guess one question.
A lot of Black.
So she says, no, it's not all tied to racism, and then ends it with, yeah, I guess we could all tie it back to racism. Give me a break.
Experience within America has been like net negative. So like, I don't know how we can sit here saying like racism is all like, I don't know, like it's all American racism is like negative.
So just one question that might help me clarify here. Let's say that in your view, eventually the systemic racism that you believe occurs in the United States, let's say eventually you thought that was solved. Wouldn't it still be possible for racism to occur, occasionally at the individual level without it being something that is systemic?
This individual racism thing that y'all are latching onto, I don't know who started this. I don't know what 4chan thread this was from, but it's nonsense, okay? All quote unquote individual racism means is like between two people. Like it just happened between two people. Like that doesn't actually It's not a different type of racism that's like separate from the system. Everything contributes still to said system, right? Like for example,
So it's the collection of individual action, right?
more than that, right? It's a systemic collection, right? Systemically, these things are allowed to have happened.
Hayden, you're using too big of words. You have to say systemically. That's the only word she knows.
Hundreds of years that create these disparities, right? So when we, like, for example, somebody saying that Black people are lazy, right? That still contributes to the racial hierarchy, right? That still contributes to upholding the racial hierarchy that exists, where Black people are at the bottom, white people at the top, right? And we can still also contribute to the disparity in like jobs, because they're not going to hire you because they think you're lazy, they don't want lazy people. And we see Black people are less likely to get hired for jobs and get paid less, right? When we say like something like, white people can't cook, that's not affecting them in any capacity getting access to a job as a chef. That doesn't contribute to any sort of system that's disenfranchising them for their race. That's not adding. Sure, is it like maybe mean to say that? That's like, white people can't cook, whatever. Is it untrue? Yeah, right. But it's not racist, and it doesn't contribute or uphold any sort of reverse racial hierarchy where white people are at the bottom.
So if someone was to say, I don't know if you believe this, but if someone was to say all white people are racist, do you think that would be racist?
No, it's true. Like we already said earlier, just like all Black people have anti-Blackness, and not just race. It's not exclusive to racial thing, right? All people are also ableist, and all people with disabilities have internalized ableism. All queer people have internalized homophobia, right? It's because within this given society, we are all taught these pro cis het whitey men things and anti everything else.
Isn't it possible that some people could be taught actually the opposite? They could be taught that racism
by their
is a
parents.
is a wicked sin.
I'm not saying this is just from their parents.
By
but
their
if you
society
live
too.
In this society, you were taught this at some point, whether
don't
you
live in that
remember.
Oh my gosh, she did the freaking clap thing too. I would say that if anything, we live in a society that teach white people to hate themselves. We have this internalized anti-white racism. I would say as society as it currently stands, white people have internalized white racism inside of them, which causes white guilt, which causes them to buy into this nonsense.
Consciously or not, we all have subconscious like biases, even about ourselves.
I really don't get how like you voted the way you voted, but they're saying you're being like our society could like be better, even though like you're voting for a society against that.
Can I give an example of like a reason that I
Before we get to Hayden's reasons, of course they're going to say, but you voted for Trump. How can you be anti-racist? Duh.
Donald Trump that I think would actually help Black people significantly?
Oh my God.
So one thing that I'm very passionate about is pro-life legislation. About 45% of the children who are aborted every year are African American. And so my vote for the candidate who is more pro-life is actually voting for the candidate who would help to hopefully decrease the amount of Black people who are being murdered every year by abortion.
Dude, that's just a racist take.
How's that racist?
That's increasing the mortality rate for Black women and Black children.
How is it increasing the mortality rate of Black children by preventing the killing of Black children?
Well,
Because we already gave you that stat.
Abortion doesn't kill children. Abortion ends a pregnancy. Oh my God, my lip gloss just fell into my glass of water.
What stat did I just give you about the Black mortality rate?
Maybe I forgot. Feel free to repeat it.
So Black women are 3 to 4 times more. I think it's 4 to 6. I'm going to go lower. 3 to 4 times more likely to be unalive during childbirth. So are there Black babies. Like Black women are dying at higher rates during childbirth.
Just one question there. You said so are there Black babies?
And also the best way
so
to
we're acknowledging then
Black family who is already systemically more likely to be in poverty is to force them to have more children and force them into deeper poverty.
Well, they
forcing the Black community.
they've already got the children. They already have the children when they're pregnant. You recognize that, right? When they're pregnant, they're already with child. They already have a child. The only question is, will they be the mother of a dead child that they murdered or the mother of a child that they love?
So the women who are dying during these childbirths are women who wanted their babies. They're not aborting these babies. They wanted these babies. They wanted to be mothers. But Black
They don't ever want to talk about the Black women who want their babies
Right,
and
the
are trying to keep their babies and how to help them get healthier. They just want more people to give birth because they think abortion is icky, because they don't actually know what it is or why, or care to fix any of the reasons that people typically have abortion.
I just want people not to murder their children.
Who already have
right. So then how do you
children.
Then how do you justify the treatment of black children within our medical system then? Because we just saw a nurse where in Virginia who was a NICU nurse who was breaking the bones of NICU infants, like of only black NICU infants. How do you justify black children being treated like that within our medical system? Because they are.
Who said I was justifying that stuff? Who said that?
I'm asking you.
Yes, I would say that if someone is intentionally breaking the bones of any child, regardless of race, they should be prosecuted. So I'm not supporting that, am I?
Right. So, but black children, like back to the stat, they're more likely not to survive childbirth.
And after the first year of life, up to the first year of life.
So let me just make sure I've got the logic right. A black child is more likely to not survive childbirth, so let's just kill him in the womb?
No, so, oh my God. No, the black mother, it's more about the black mother, who we all pretend to care about black babies, but don't actually want to give them access to education or food or equitable access to anything else in society. But sure, just force them to be born and then say fuck you when they're here.
I don't believe that at all. I don't think that we should say F you when they're here. I think we should care for them and love them, both in the womb and out of the womb.
What you say, right? Because what you voted for speaks louder than what you're saying right now. Because what you voted for was the destruction of the Department of Education. What you voted for was the destruction of access to grants that help people in the most impoverished parts of our nation. What you voted for was basically destroying every single system that was set up to try to undo these disparities. So now these disparities are only going to get worse. We don't even have a civil sorry, what is it called? Help me out, Clement. The civil department of the DOJ, right? What is it called? The Civil Rights Department, thank you. The Civil Rights Department of the DOJ. We don't even have that working anymore. So like now, when black families are discriminated against, trying to get homes for their black children to live in, and they're denied loans or denied lower appraisals, all these things, no one's there to check that anymore. So now these are just going to get worse. You voted for worse outcomes. That's what you voted for. I don't care what you say to me right now. Nothing you say to me will mean shit, because what you voted for speaks louder than any words that will come out of your mouth right now. You did not vote in my favor. You did not vote for my child. And how fucking dare you sit here, say you voted for Trump, but then also say that you care about my black child? Like, disgusting, delusional. Disgusting and delusional.
I think also, like you say, you're going to care for them like after birth. Like they literally are pulling like.
If I were Hayden, I would have asked her, "Is the father still in your black child's life?" I would have loved to see what she said, because if she would have said no, well, there's already great comebacks to that. What do you guys think of this so far, though? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you're enjoying it so far. Let's continue.
Fundings, like things like school lunches, kids don't have access to. Like, no, you care that they make it through pregnancy. You just want people to be pregnant, force them to give birth. But you don't care about what happens to the child after they're alive.
I absolutely do care about what happened to them after they're alive. Now, I want to start. Well, just give me a second. I want to start with saying an area where I think we would agree. I think we would all agree that children deserve to be loved, cared for, and protected, right? Can we just start where we would all agree with that, right?
We don't all agree with that. You voted for the exact opposite. See, this is why I said everything you say now means literally nothing. Because
also, I think
didn't vote that way. You say these things online and then you vote the exact opposite way. So no.
So I can believe that all children deserve to be loved, cared for, and protected, and still also believe that it would be immoral, for example, for someone who has children to go steal from someone else who gained money, income, property lawfully through hard labor, to then go steal from that person to give to their child, right? Would you agree with me that that would be wrong, to go steal from another person to give to your child when the other person earned what they had lawfully?
That's going against your statement there, because if someone does not have, and like most crimes is from like financial status or due to poverty. So if someone needs to feed their child and they need to steal to do that, what's wrong with that by your logic if it's to feed a child?
So just to clarify, once again, I'll repeat what I was saying earlier. I believe that all children deserve to be loved, cared for, and protected. But I don't believe that then just let me finish. But I don't believe that means we need to have a large government bureaucracy that steals from people, basically essentially holds a gun to them, forcing them to give up their money in order to give to someone else. I believe we should care for the children voluntarily with joyful hearts and not by coercion.
You want to choose to pay for? Isn't that ironic? He wants a choice. Oh, poor thing wants a choice.
Not the choice to murder a child. No one should have that choice.
Not murder.
Why is it not murder?
Why is it morally wrong to end the life of a non-sentient being? Why is that morally wrong?
Because that child, from the moment of fertilization, is made in the image of God.
Not my God.
Dude, it's so deranged, this woman here. She's talking about like, oh, you know, we need to take care of the kids and blah, 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 or you don't care about kids after. Obviously, like, and then she laughs when she talks about, you know, oh, they're made in the image of God. Like, that's a very loving thing to say, like a great thing to say. And she laughs at that.
Keep your God to yourself.
This might be helpful. Maybe we can reason from some shared premises here. What do you think?
No, if your whole thing is based on religion, then I can't debate your.
Well, I know you don't share that premise. I know you don't share that premise, which is why I was going to ask if we could try to reason from some premises that maybe we do share.
No,
what do you think makes a human valuable or a life valuable?
You were debating from your religion.
Okay. Are you okay with abortion up to 9 months? Is there a limit?
Whether or not I value the fetus or not does not change whether or not I think that a woman should be able to abort it or keep it.
Okay, so up to 9 months then, right?
That makes a person valuable.
I believe in abortion up to 9 months with the moral consideration to the fetus at sentience, which is typically around the same time that viability happens. And so post viability, I believe in non-lethal abortion methods such as a hysterectomy abortion, C-section abortion, or an induction abortion.
So just to clarify then, it would essentially be preterm delivery where the child would then live, correct?
Prior to that, I do not care because there is no harm that the fetus can experience, embryo can experience, zygote can experience prior to that.
Okay, so just to clarify here, I want to make sure I've got your position correct because I don't want to misrepresent you. You would say after 24 weeks, it should not be legal for the woman to intentionally kill the child in utero and deliver them dead, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But you would say after 24 weeks, if she needs to get a C-section or something like that and deliver the child alive, that's fine. But prior to 24 weeks, you believe that abortion should be okay for any reason up to that 24 weeks because the child's not conscious yet at that point, and therefore you don't believe they can be harmed, right?
Not sentient.
Not sentient. Okay. Gotcha. And just to clarify, what do you mean by sentience?
Ability to experience or feel.
Okay.
Do you know the difference between sentience and conscious?
Well, so I've talked to some people about this, and some people have different definitions. That's why I always try to ask. I think they're generally pretty much about the same. If you think they're different, then I'm happy to hear you sort of explain the differences.
They are different things.
Okay, can you explain to me the differences between consciousness and sentience then, just so I'm aware of your position?
Is like we're conscious right now. We're awake. We're able to experience things. People in comas are still conscious. They're still sentient. They may be unconscious, but they're still sentient. They can still experience things.
Wait, let me look it up. Conscious is like a higher level of thinking. Is that what that means? Higher level of... It's not just mean higher level of thinking. Hold on.
Yeah. To have sentience, all you need is to experience something. Like plants are technically sentience, but we could debate if they're actually living things or not.
Okay, so just to clarify, let's see if we can read from some shared premises here. Would you agree with me that human beings should have more rights, in particular more rights to live, are more morally valuable than non-human animals?
Do I think what?
Human beings should have more rights and are more valuable than non-human animals.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I do believe, listen, I can admit that like the vegan stance and stuff like that is probably the more moral stance to have. But also I like a hamburger, so.
Okay, so based on your actions would tell us that you do believe that humans have more moral value and deserve more rights than non-human animals, correct?
I think that's a fair assessment.
They wouldn't taste as good as a burger.
Well, I think what she said would be her answer, because we could sit here and a man could say, I don't think hitting your wife is right, but he could still hit his wife. You know what I mean? Like she could still say morally she doesn't agree with killing animals, but she likes cheeseburgers. That's just what she said.
Just to clarify, wouldn't you say though that if a man said that he loved
confusing things, that why does he keep needing to clarify things here? Because
I don't want to misrepresent you guys. That's why I don't want to misrepresent you. Wouldn't you say, though, that if a man said that he loved his wife and that he cared for her and that beating women and abusing them was wrong, but then he was doing that every single night, that wouldn't you question if he actually believed that he should love women? Wouldn't you question if he believed that deep down based on his actions?
Yeah, that's why I said that I don't really believe you care about any of this because you voted for Trump, because your actions.
So applying that standard back to you, you would obviously believe then that humans do have more moral value and deserve more rights than non-human animals, considering you eat non-human animals, right? But you don't eat humans?
I bet you would eat a human, though, if you could, though, Tay.
You think I would eat a human?
I think you would fold Yellow Jacket so fast.
I mean, if I was like starving and like, really, really hungry, hadn't eaten in days.
They'd be like some white boy named Tyler and a tortilla. You'd be like, yes, please.
Maybe this would be helpful. If you could only save, there's a burning building, you could only save either a newborn human being or an adult pig. I'm assuming you'd pick to save the newborn human being, right?
Probably
How
save
hungry am I? I'm just kidding.
I'd save the pig because there's a video of pigs.
I would save the baby, but
I would save the pig. There's videos of pigs decorating their barns and they're smart creatures.
Just a question there. Are you being serious?
Pigs. Oh my god. Oh, jeez, these people are insufferable.
Or are you being sarcastic
I would
and
say-
just trying to joke?
You don't know me. I'm very anti-child.
I can't tell if he's being serious.
Fuck them kids.
Well, I mean, the guy sounds like he's a homosexual, so I wouldn't be I'm not very surprised if he's anti-child.
I don't think kids should be allowed to be in public. Fuck young babies. So I would save the pig. I fucking hate children.
Clement.
I mean, that's consistent with the pro-choice position. It's consistent with the pro-choice position.
I'm a mother, so that doesn't mean anything. Him being a childless gay man does not prove anything about the.
I'm accepting of your lifestyle. You just don't need a whole month about it.
Just one question there. You said you're a mother. When did you become a mother?
I got pregnant at 19.
No, I mean,
I gave birth at 20.
That's interesting though. That you said when I asked you when did you become a mother, you said you got pregnant at 19. You didn't say at birth I became a mother. It sounds like you were saying you were a mother when you were pregnant, right?
Gave birth at 20. No, not really.
So you had a child from the moment you were pregnant.
No. I think that I had different responsibilities the second I became pregnant for like my own health because she tried to unalive me. But
do you think you had any obligations for your child? For example, did you think that you had an obligation to like stop drinking, stop, not take like any, drugs or whatever that could harm the child, things like Accutane, things like that you had actual obligations to that child in the womb?
Yes, because I chose to carry out my pregnancy. I was going to have an abortion, but turns out they're expensive.
And so isn't your perspective on whether a child is valuable or not based on whether the mother wants them?
No, because I think that people who value their children and value their pregnancy still have to sometimes have abortions.
But your position is that if someone doesn't value, your position though is if someone doesn't value the pregnancy, they should be able to murder the child in the womb.
No, because I don't care if you value I think that if a woman who values her pregnancy can, and they do, have abortions as well. So no, it's not based off of if they value it or not. It's based off if they consent to the procedure or not. That's what I care about. Do they consent to the procedure? Then cool. If they don't consent to the procedure, then they should not have an abortion because they don't want it. All right, and that would be wrong to force an abortion on her.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the sort of the 24-week sort of sentience thing because it seems like that's where we disagree. So it sounds like you would.
No, you just haven't been able to ground why it's morally wrong to unalive something that isn't sentient.
Well, I'm trying to. You guys are being sort of a little slippery in sort of the questions that I'm asking here. So just to clarify, true or false, you believe that humans have more moral value and deserve more rights than non-human animals? True or false?
I don't believe that.
Sure, like there are more rights to like vote and drink. Sure, there are just certain rights they don't need that we do need because they're not moral agents. They're not like people in our society.
So just a question there: if human beings should have more of a right,
they need different rights because they're animals. That's my answer.
Should humans have more of a right to live than non-human animals? Like a right not to be murdered.
Again, how hungry am I?
She would eat a human being.
No, I wouldn't. It just depends. Okay.
Well, why would you eat a pig but not a human being?
People who climbed Mount Everest and got like really cold, and like someone else froze to death over there.
Okay, but what
I
if
wouldn't unalive them to eat them, but if they're already dead and I'm starving.
Okay, but like, what if you're like walking down the street, you smell something like real good, and you walk into the restaurant, and you're like, "What is that?" They're like, "Her name was Ashley. She was 23."
This is really freaking annoying. I wish that
They
guy
have
would
like
shut
a
up.
raw
Like the
man.
dude
He's
would
like,
just
"Let me
shut
try some
up.
of that Ashley." I would try Ashley.
I mean, we've already
If they were like
established.
she was using the hard ER, I'd be like, "Give me some Ashley then."
We've already established he doesn't care about kids, so obviously he doesn't care about abortion and stuff like that. So whatever. But you know, there might be some reasoning with this woman. So I'm trying to see if there's any chance that Hayden might get through this girl. And this dude keeps derailing the conversation with freaking nonsense. Like, yeah, you would eat a human. It's like, shut up, dude. Just shut up.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay, I'll just
to clarify, why would you eat a pig but not a human being?
I think human beings would taste bad.
That's the only reason. If you thought they tasted good, would you eat
We're
them?
full of chemicals. Maybe like
This is true.
Europeans or like Canada. Does Canada? No, I think.
No, Canadians.
Who do you think would taste the best? Canadians would taste like syrup. Do you think
No,
they taste?
So you're
Canadians are
so
up
depraved in your view of
Canadians
human
are up
life. You're
north.
talking about
Hold on,
actually
hold
eating
on a
human
second.
beings.
Hold on a second. Canadians are up north, so they have to like stay warm. So it's probably mostly fat. It's like the Midwest for Canada. The Midwest is mostly made of high volume. Like you want something like tender, not like Californians would probably be too
Who would
lean.
be tender? What country has tender people?
I feel like it would just depend on the spices.
You guys, the discussion, but I just kind of want to try to figure out what the direction is that we want to go here, because it seems like you guys aren't really interested in pursuing the abortion question with any seriousness.
Okay, this is my stance. I don't think it's morally wrong to unalive something that is non-sentient. I do think it is morally wrong to force pregnancy or force somebody to sustain a pregnancy that they do not want to, because it does cause harm to them. And it doesn't cause harm to the fetus unless they're, viable, like sentient.
Okay, so just to clarify though, you would acknowledge that pigs are sentient and you're fine eating those.
Yeah, because they're delicious. Fetuses aren't delicious.
I don't think we ever talked about eating kids.
Yeah, but they would not taste good. Are you kidding me? They don't even look after. Like that. They're just like mostly like. No, I value sentience in people. Yeah. I again will not go out and unalive a pig. But if it's already dead, yeah, I'll eat it.
All right, listen, I don't know if there's any hope for this or not. There's still a few minutes left in the video. But honestly, they're kind of irritating and annoying. It was a nice try by Hayden, though. It was a nice try by Hayden Rhodea to try to use the reasoning of the animals versus the humans. But I think they purposely were derailing the conversation because I think they knew that they really had no valid arguments. Again, another pro-abortion person that is once again using sentience to justify unaliving an unborn baby. Honestly, she really feels like, oh, you're forcing someone to give birth. This, like, they're really brainwashed into thinking that pregnancy is some kind of huge danger to women. And so to them, forcing them to give birth, that's pretty much like you're gambling with their lives here. Now listen, I understand that sometimes a pregnancy can be dangerous in some situations, but in general, that is not the case. But these people, it's like they hear pregnancy and it's pretty much the same as cancer to them. Announcing that you're pregnant is the same way as announcing that you have cancer to these people. And therefore, like a tumor or or the cancer inside your body, it's fine to remove it as long as it's not sentient. This was a nice try by Hayden Rhodea. What did you guys think about this? Sound off in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you liked it. If you really liked it, consider subscribing to my channel. It'll really help me out a lot. A link to the original video is down in the description below. And if you like seeing Hayden Rhodea do his thing, I have a whole playlist for you on the screen that you could watch and enjoy.